My name is Kyle Oswald. I am a tactical medic for a couple different SWAT teams. I've been doing this for about 1.5 years now. Initially out of high school, I joined the Army, and I was an Army Ranger for 8 years. After I got out of the Army, I went to nursing school after a little bit, and now I'm a registered nurse. I work as a trauma nurse. Honestly, after I got out of the Army, I searched around for a career that kind of fulfilled me the same way that the military did. I tried a couple jobs out and did some things on the side, and I never really felt like it was a career. I never really felt like the jobs needed me, if that makes sense. In the military, I was an EMT, and I did that for a little bit, so I kind of thought about doing that again, but the more I looked at it, the more I was drawn to emergency room nursing. So as I looked more and more and did a little bit more research, I decided on becoming a nurse and then going into an emergency room. Since I've done that, I feel like I'm fulfilled again in that career aspect. And then with what I do as a tactical medic, I feel like I've gotten the brotherhood back that I lost when I got out of the Army. The brotherhood that I experience with the SWAT team now is very similar to the kind of the close-knit type brotherhood that I experienced in Ranger Regiment. Ranger Regiment's a special operations branch, and it was very, very tight-knit there. The guy next to you on the left and the right would definitely die for you, and you do the same for him. So in these ways, SWAT team and being a SWAT medic is kind of the same way. So I was looking for a career that I could do longer term, and I think that's why I decided to go into the healthcare field. There's always going to be a part of me that likes to run and gun and is going to be attracted to those kind of critical situations. But I knew that my body probably didn't have a whole lot of time left as an operator. One of the reasons I got out of the military was because my shoulders and back started to go. So as I looked into nursing, in the back of my mind, I had it, I could do this for 10, 20, 30 years. But then as I discovered SWAT medic, it became kind of an adjunct, a way for me to get into the tactical world again, where I can definitely do some of those things. But now I can provide a skill set that isn't typically found on SWAT teams. Typically with SWAT teams, you've got maybe an EMT trained individual, and that's awesome. But what we can do as SWAT medics is we can bring provider level care and then trauma nurse, paramedic level care to point of injury, as opposed to having to wait on EMS to show up or wait on other teammates that maybe don't have as much training as we might. So as a SWAT medic, we are responsible for everybody who might get hurt on scene. That includes both SWAT members, that includes potential suspects or perpetrators, that also includes bystanders or anybody else that's around. So we have kind of an all-encompassing responsibility to treat anybody that we can. The hardest part of my job is definitely the responsibility that's on my shoulders. There is kind of in the back of my mind always, it's, what happens if one of my friends gets shot? What happens if one of my brothers gets shot and I'm the one that's here to treat them? Am I prepared enough? Do I have the ability to make the decisions that I need to in order to get them home? Some wounds, unfortunately, are not survivable, and some wounds no matter what you're going to survive, but there's that middle ground there with potentially survivable wounds, and that is where myself and the other SWAT medics come in. We're there to bridge that gap and to try to slide those potentially survivable wounds to survivable. So I'll tell you a helmet story. When I first got into Ranger Regiment, was a brand new guy. They had just gotten issued what was called a MICH, a Mission Intensive Combat Helmet. But being the new guy, they had run out of those, and I was given one of the old school K-pots. And this thing was about as big as I am, and it didn't fit very well. On top of that, I was given some super old night vision. So I go out basically to try to run and gun with these super high-speed individuals. And as we go, nighttime starts to unfold, and as we're moving through the woods, basically my helmet's just sloshing up and down on my head, and I can't see anything, and I get completely lost. So that taught me what a bad helmet is like. That definitely, getting lost and then getting destroyed and hazed immediately after that because my team leader had to come and find me is one of the big stories that I'll take away in my relation to where I get into Hardhead veterans and their helmet, being on the complete polar opposite of that. As a Ranger infantryman, I was in from 2004 to the end of 2011, and we used MICHs, or Advanced Combat Helmets as well, so a Mission Intensive Combat Helmet, and then we went to Advanced Combat Helmets. those were wildly uncomfortable. I mean, they protected as well as a helmet should, but that was about the only positive quality. They were terrible. You got basically just a splitting headache most of the times you wore them, especially if you wore ear pro with them, which you have to, especially being clipped into any kind of, headset or any kind of radio or anything like that. So it wasn't until my time getting out of the Army when I was looking for another helmet. With this job, we buy most of our own equipment, and I started to look around for other companies. I knew what I didn't want, and I started to look around, and what I found was Hardhead Veterans. Their helmet on paper seemed awesome. It seemed like there were really no drawbacks. From what it was reported was going to be very high quality. They published their ballistic ratings in testing, which I thought was awesome. I couldn't find that even among the other superior brands, let alone any of the cheaper versions. So the more I looked into it, the more I decided that I was going to pay to get my hands on one of the Hardhead Veteran helmets. When I got that, I was very happily surprised. The helmet lived up to all the hype and then some. I can really not name any drawbacks for it. I think that both from the comfort standpoint, from modularity, from reliability, I've had it for about 2 years now, and I haven't had any issues at all with it. From being able to attach different types of headsets, or the ballistic face shield is a new thing they came out with. That's amazing. It really does add to us. You can still wear a pro mask underneath of it and still shoot underneath of that. The helmet that I choose to wear, I'm depending my life on. So I chose Hardhead Veterans because I know that it protects the way it says it's supposed to protect. I know ballistically it's going to take what it says it's supposed to take, and I choose it. I wasn't given it. I could choose other helmets, but I choose Hardhead Veterans because I know that it's going to be as reliable and functional as possible. The best part of my job is the Brotherhood. I've found getting out of the Army, I kind of was lost. I think that a lot of veterans are, especially when you come from a super close-in group like I did. You get out and you really kind of wonder what's next, and you don't know what, deep down inside, you really don't know what to call yourself. You're not sure. I was an Army Ranger for as long as I could remember as an adult. And when I got out, I wasn't sure, what the next steps were. So the best part of what I get now out of being a SWAT medic is that I'm part of a team again. I'm part of a close-knit brotherhood where we all rely on each other, and I think that we all bring something to the table. The worst part of my job is, as a nurse, patients that die on you, patients that may have a chance and that you fight for but you still can't save. As a SWAT medic, I think the worst thing about what I'm exposed to is seeing how anti-police a lot of people are nowadays. You see, and it's tough because I see these guys, no matter what society thinks of them, no matter what the politician or pop star of the day says, these guys put on their uniforms and they come to work to protect. It's amazing to me what these guys go through and still put on their uniforms no matter what, still show up to keep their neighborhood safe. And despite what's going on around them, despite what's in the news, despite what is happening, they're always here. So there's a couple things that make me get up every day. Number one's my wife. She's been amazing. I put her through so much, especially with finding the SWAT medic program when she thought I was done, doing dangerous things. But number two, there's a lot of us that wear little black bracelets. They're called KIA bracelets. They have the names of a lot of our brothers that were killed in combat, brothers or sisters. I wear a bracelet that unfortunately has 11 names on it, guys that I served with, some very good friends. So what gets me up every day and what makes me push when I'm tired or when it's not necessarily what I want to do is understanding that I'm carrying on their legacy. I am through them, I am living their lives that they no longer have the ability to live. They've paid for everybody in our society to have a chance at the American dream and to be as good of a person as we can be. With keeping that in mind, there's no other reason that you need to get out of bed.